All right, so far it seems like these settings are working. I might have black bars on the side of the video, but what are you gonna do? I got it to work, it's good enough. So right now I want to talk about supply and demand, and I'm going to set myself a stopwatch so I don't go too long. I'm going to try and keep these into 15-minute segments. So supply and demand, this is a phrase that you're going to hear all over the place out in the real world, and about half the time people are using it wrong. So it's really important to use it correctly to make effective use of it, and to make effective arguments to people whose opinions matter. You can misuse it all you want on Facebook, but when you want to be taken seriously in the workplace or while discussing public policy, we got to use the concepts appropriately. So fundamentally, what they are two relationships. Supply is the relationship between price and quantity supplied, and it looks like this. Supply shows a relationship between price and quantity demanded, where at a high price we have a low quantity demanded, and at a low price we're going to have a higher quantity demanded. So our demand curve is downward sloping, our supply curve is upward sloping. I'm drawing them as straight lines because I'm lazy. Fundamentally, all that matters is this is moving up as it moves to the right, and this one's going down as it goes to the right. Now, another important part of this is recognizing that what we're doing with this two-dimensional plot is showing two aspects of the universe that might change or have some relationships to each other, and nothing else. In other words, we are holding all else equal. We are making our necessary ceteris paribus assumption. So, all else equal, we have the law of demand and the law of supply, and it's a law because it is always and everywhere true because we're holding all else equal. So the law goes like this. The law of demand says that as price increases, quantity demanded decreases, and vice versa. And for supply, we have, just as you'd expect, price goes up, quantity supplied also increases. Price goes up, quantity supplied increases, and in this case, by vice versa, we mean if price goes down, quantity supplied goes down. And this is all else equal. So, let me take a step back and explain what exactly each of these lines are. The logic is going to turn out to be very similar for both, but I'm going to start by focusing on the demand curve. Fundamentally, what we have going on is each point represents one particular use. So we might think about, say, the market for shoes. In the market for shoes, we have all these different uses that are going to have different orders of importance or urgency. It's going to be a question of how much are people really willing to give up for any particular use of a pair of shoes. So for me, I need at least one pair of shoes because otherwise I can't go to the grocery store, right? No shirt, no shoes, no service. I need to eat. I cannot feed myself without the grocery store. Therefore, my value of having at least one pair of shoes is pretty substantial. To have two pairs of shoes is a nice thing, right? If you've got one pair of shoes, you can make do in a lot of situations, but if you have two pairs, you can rotate between them. They're going to get less stinky. So a second pair of shoes is not life or death, but it is pretty high value, right? I would be willing and able to give up quite a bit to have two pairs of shoes rather than one pair of shoes. And I'd be willing to give up quite a bit more to have one pair of shoes at all rather than no pairs of shoes. Third pair of shoes, now you're getting a spare for your spare. Right, now we are holding all else equal. Realistically, you might have a pair of sneakers for walking around, a pair of shoes to wear at the gym, a pair of dress shoes for job interviews, yada, yada, yada. different shoes for different situations. We are kind of mushing that all together. We're being a little sloppy with our thinking and just saying a pair of shoes is a pair of shoes. That's true for me, maybe less true for you, but let's just pretend as if. So for me, I've got an important pair of shoes, a less important pair of shoes, less important pairs of shoes beyond that. And we have some sort of a relationship where we show the diminishing importance. We're essentially ordering these different uses, right? So each bar represents one use. So this is the use that allows me to go to the grocery store. This allows me to have, let's say, just general more comfort because I'm not constantly wearing the same pair of shoes. And this we'll call a spare for a spare. And we're going to kind of brush aside the difference between, say, your hiking shoes and your gym shoes and your dress shoes and your flip-flops and all those different things. Because that's not the important thing. The important thing is, all else equal, for any particular good, we can show your individual demand curve and we can interpret it as the value you're getting from each use in descending order. Now, one way to drive this point home, well, let's put it this way. Let's change our example and think about water. Water with a W. So for water, we've got our most important use is staying alive. So one glass of water, really, really valuable. Second glass of water, still really, really valuable, and you're still probably using it for drinking. Let's say quarts of water. First quart of water you drink, second quart of water you drink. Third quart of water, let's say you use for hygiene. You brush your teeth with it, you splash under your pits. Still pretty important compared to your 60th gallon of water in a given day. If we put these together, actually, you know what? Let's make market demand curves a separate video. Most important thing to take away from this is when we draw our demand curve, each point is implicitly representing a bar that's telling us about the value that some consumer is getting from the 80th unit of some good. For supply, same basic deal. We can think about the supply curve as bars, and the bars on the supply curve represent the marginal cost of producing one more, all else equal. What are we giving up for that third extra unit? All right, let's stop here, keep this video short.